Well, we are back with you live once again on another Johnny Torch live broadcast. I'm going to have to see the replay and see if that opener actually worked. I don't understand what happened on my end because it's like completely froze. But here we are. We're going to do a fairly brief show today. And it's a lovely afternoon, kind of a drizzly afternoon over here at Stately Torch Tower. And it's the holiday of Pentecost, which I hope everybody observes and celebrates out there. And we're going to talk about some news that came not too long ago. Let me see. This suit was dropped about 2 weeks ago now. Yeah, about 2 weeks ago, I guess. We're going to talk about that in a minute. But this is big, super big Johnny Torch's 250th live broadcast. Yes, we've made it to another milestone, number 250. We've been at it for some time, and this is Torch News Roundup number 288. We did do them recorded at the beginning. That's why there's not as many live broadcasts as there are recorded ones. But all that to tell you that, we're still here. We're still plugging along. We're still getting the job done. And as I said in my last Torch News live broadcast, the show's been on for quite a while, but there's not too much to talk about anymore. There really isn't too many subjects in the pop culture sphere that really interest me. The Superman movie, James Gunn's new Superman movie, which I guess is now just titled Superman, is probably the only film that's really coming out that really piques my interest. But we'll talk about a couple of other things as well today. First off, let's switch gears for a second here. And we will once again plug my comic, The Adventures of Bullets, Bourbon, Private Eye, which I have just gotten notified today. I just got some information today that the book has now been completed in the file assembly process. It is going to be going to print very soon now. And I will get that up on Global Comics probably before it's actually ready for print, because I don't think I'm going to wait around too long. This book has been in production for about a year, and to me, that's like 6 months too long. But it was a complex book, and there was some problems behind the scenes. I had software difficulty, and it all kind of mounts up when you're a one-man operation. You can't really just hand things off to somebody else and say, well, take care of this for me. I had to figure it out on my own. I had to sort of, reinvest to try to make sure that I could, get the software I needed and this and that. It's difficult. Of course, you could make this very easy for me if you could buy 1 million copies and tell all your friends to buy 1 million copies. I'm pretty sure I'd be able to handle any other slip-ups or slowdowns that come my way. But Nursery Crimes is the name of the latest issue. Yeah, we're going to do a whole broadcast about it, so I won't go into too many of the details here. But, of course, this is what we're calling the first season finale, where Bullet's friends have been kidnapped by the vile and contemptible Pencil Neck, a villain who was released from lockup and supposedly had turned over a new leaf. Of course, Bullet knows things are not always as they seem, and Bullet's friends are in danger, and Pencil Neck has put them all into death traps that resemble a nursery rhyme. There are several different nursery rhymes, and Bullets must fight the clock, as they say. He must beat the clock in order to save his friends from a grisly demise. So this is a really exciting book. It's been in the works for about a year now, and that's why I try not to. I'm not one to cast stones when guys can't get their books out on time, because a lot of unforeseen things happen, especially if you're an indie guy that you've got life to deal with as well. You can't just like spend your whole day working on the book and this and that. So, it kind of is what it is. If a guy gets late, you kind of hope that he's going to keep giving you updates and at least stoke the flames of interest, because my whole thing was originally that I wanted to do these books as graphic novels. each one was designed to come out as a 3-act graphic novel. And I realized that will take me probably 2 years to get a book out. And you have to keep people interested. You can't just say, well, this next one is going to be great in 2 years' time. You know, you have to have a real level of dedicated fan to not receive anything from you for 2 years and still come back and want to see the next one. So what we do is I played into what, you know, the core comic book thing always was, which is the pamphlets, the cat spankers, I guess they call them, but they're the ones that come out every, you know, in comics it's every month, but in this case I try to get them out every 6 months to see that you at least get another chapter, you know, biannually. Dare I use the term bi, but it takes on a different meaning in this day and age. But biannually, I'll try to get these all out to you. This is a bit of a longer book, too. This is 28 pages, which is considerably longer than a lot of my issues tend to be. They usually are in the teens, maybe 22 pages at the most. And that kind of also led to the delay. But check this one out. Keep abreast of all the facts by checking the link in the description below. You can find my website. You can find me on Twitter, where I'm sure I'll be hyping it up in the coming weeks, as it is really close to being available. And it's really exciting. This is a real exciting issue. And I feel like this issue is important because it's one of those issues that, one of these story arcs that are not like earth-shaking and devastating. It's like a story, just another adventure. And I think a lot of times people forget that you need that. You need the breath after the mile-long hike. You know what I mean? The last couple of stories we did were like the world is at stake, and there's a lot of. Some people just want to keep doing that, and then you find that you can't continue to build the stakes if you don't take it down a notch and try to do something that's, you know, doesn't necessarily have the world in peril, but you have that sort of humorous story that's going to kind of, you know, it's something to divert you from some of the bigger issues in the Bullets Bourbon universe. And that's not to say that, of course, Pencil Neck isn't a threat or isn't really putting Bullet's friends in jeopardy here, because this really is life or death stakes. But sometimes you have to ease back and sort of just do one that's just for fun. And, you know, kind of like, well, one of my inspirations is Batman, the animated series, of course. That's kind of where I wanted to set the tone for these books and do the colorful stuff, but still do sort of a noirish take. And, you know, they had a nice balance of, sometimes the stories were really earnest and serious and, you know, a lot of emotion. And then there was other stories that were just played for laughs and for fun. You know, you probably had as many goofy ones as you did serious ones, if you're being honest. And I think that's kind of what I'm trying to get with this story too, is that it's sort of like one of those ones that are not as, you know, quite as earth-crushingly severe as some of the previous issues. But check it out. And I think especially if you're looking for something a little more lightweight after a hard day, you sometimes don't want to really tune into a Shakespearean tragedy. This one is probably going to be right up your alley as well. And of course, we got the 2 previous issues up and ready for sale. You can check them out on Indie Planet. You can check us out on Global Comics if you so desire. Digital downloads, they'll all be there and waiting for you. And like I said, I might even try to do another sale for the introduction here of this one on Global Planet. Global Comics. I got both places mixed up. But yeah, so check it out and let me know what you think in the comments below once you have seen what we have to offer here. All right, so with that out of the way, I was just thinking of another subject that I could talk about today. A couple of days ago, or maybe it was yesterday, I don't know, we had a headline here of, let me see if I can find it on Twitter. I should probably show you my Twitter, but all right, Venom: The Last Dance. Now, I don't have an image up for this, but basically just imagine Tom Hardy and Venom in the background. So the next Venom film is going to be called The Last Dance. And Sony is playing this up by saying it is going to be the last film of the franchise, and it is going to be huge. Now, this to me is a little interesting because I don't understand why necessarily they want to close out this Venom franchise, because it's really the only successful franchise Sony has in their Spider-Verse. I mean, we did a review of Madam Web, which I hope you've checked out. If you haven't, be sure to check it out. It was the last video we did. Not a horrible film, but again, it's definitely not going to spawn a lot of sequels. You've got Morbius, which I'd like to see that character return, not necessarily in a solo film, but maybe as a villain slash anti-hero in a Spider-Man film. And so with Venom, you really have a lot of places you can take the character, because he has a storied past in the comics as being an anti-hero, as being a villain. We've never seen him face a Spider-Man at all in the, MCU slash Sony verse. We had, basically a wink and a nod to that possibility they were going to do that, and they completely took that away from them. Kevin Feige does not want to play ball with Sony, and it's sad because Sony is like, you ever seen that commercial? Some of you might be old enough to remember this one with like Larry Bird and what's his face, Charles Barkley is like, "Can I play, guys?" And that's Sony. It's like Sony is the Charles Barkley. "Hey guys, can I play?" And they really want so desperately to involve the characters that the MCU aren't using into movies, and then want to eventually sort of bring Spider-Man in to face them. Apparently as a Sinister Six film, which again, that was sort of a plan that never transpired. And again, I don't know. I don't know what they're thinking, because they keep trying this, and none of these villains ever spin off into a Spider-Man movie. We've got Kraven the Hunter also coming out this year. I believe that's now set for December. Not entirely sure exactly why that was postponed. And in that film, apparently they're going to have Rhino be introduced. Another thing you think of with Venom is that Venom, he's had other hosts. You can't necessarily say, because let's say Tom Hardy doesn't want to do any more films, you can't necessarily say that that would be the end of the franchise, because, to me, I wouldn't want to go this way. I think Eddie Brock and Venom are the ultimate symbiote combination. But I mean, you've had what was it? Flash Thompson, I think, was Venom in the comics. I think, was it Harry Osborn? There was like 2 or 3 other people that became Venom, and you could probably continue to do these movies with other hosts. But to their credit, I guess they don't want to milk it. They're just going to take their ball and go home after the 3rd film. It's going to be interesting to see how they tie this up, because we did Carnage. That I don't know. The first film was good. The second film, the ending of it kind of was a letdown. And then now the 3rd film, they're going to have another symbiote villain, which I guess you could do that indefinitely, really, right? And then we're going to have, I guess, the resolution of the story with Anne, right? I mean, she's married, right? And so what's going to happen with her and Eddie? I don't know. So let me know what you think in the comments below. What do you think about Venom: The Last Dance? What does that mean? It seems very final. Does that mean Eddie is going to die? Does that mean Venom's going to die? Does that mean they're just going to end it and, make the franchise just go out on a high note by saying, hey, this is the last dance. No matter what happens, it's the last one. Possibly that's all they're trying to say. Let me know what you think in the comments below. And let's get on here. We'll move on to our top story of the day. The Superman suit from James Gunn's Superman movie. Not to be confused with Superman the movie. All right, so this is the image we got. It broke, and as you can expect, the internet lost its darn mind. I don't really understand why. This is honestly a great looking costume, if you ask me. Now, first thing I noticed, the colors are great. The colors are more vibrant. We've got bright red boots, a bright red cape. The cape looks like it's the right size. They're not like skimping out on the cape. The the costume blue is bright enough. It looks like it's taken a little damage there. And, so possibly we're not getting to see it in its full glory. It's also in a darkened room, which I think once he's out in the daylight, it's going to look a lot better. The emblem, the S crest, I am still not a fan of. There's been a lot of talk about whether this has been altered sort of from the traditional crest because of copyright. And, the public domain is coming soon for Superman in a good, I think, 10 years. So maybe they're trying to do something with copyright. That's the reason why. And then you also, but it's kind of reminiscent of the Fleischer S, and in that way, I kind of am okay with it. It's also like kind of like the Kingdom Come S. I don't know. I don't like it, but I can accept it. That is probably the low point of the costume for me. He's got the red trunks. Now, how many times were we told he's never going to get the red trunks again? And he's got the red trunks. That is a victory all on its own. He's got the utility belt or whatever. I don't know if it's called a utility belt. I've always called it his utility belt. He must have something in those pouches there. And he's got the curl. He's got the S curl. It looks like that's legitimately there. I don't think that was a mistake. So this looks like a good costume to me. And a lot of people just went to town tearing it to shreds. Now, I will say I expected it from the Snyder fanatics, because the Snyderverse freaks are going to complain about everything, every step of the way of this film. Now, again, I say this all the time. I am not a huge fan of James Gunn, his movies. He did a good job with Guardians of the Galaxy. The sequels were varying degrees of success. Second one I wasn't crazy about. The third one I thought was pretty good. And, I don't really know what kind of tone he's going to strike with this film. When I find out, I guess, we'll all know whether this is a success or not. But for what I can see in this frame, it looks good. There's some kind of disturbance, I guess, as Peter Parker would say, in the background there. Some sonic blast coming out of the sky. And Superman is getting ready to take off and deal with the problem. This is another one of those problems that I have with fans, which is nitpicking every sort of angle of this. Why is he putting on his boots so slow? Why does he look like he doesn't care? He looks like he's taking his time. People are getting killed. Why is he all this? It feels like I'm talking to 2-year-olds when I hear this. It's like, all right, little Billy, Superman is getting ready to take care of the threat, and Mr. Gunn took some film and he slowed it down and took a frame to show us, because Superman moves so fast that you wouldn't be able to see him get dressed if he didn't stop the frame right there. Does that make you feel any better if I have to explain it to you like you're in first grade? Because honestly, some of these complaints and criticisms are just ridiculous. And the fandom, it seems to me, is getting more and more ridiculous, to the point where, I mean, I don't have any patience for any of them anymore, really. That's why I don't suppose I do too much covering any of these topics anymore either, because fandom has gotten to be such, in a way, they're entitled. It's like, in a sense, we had it so good that now, when they're not really doing too many good things anymore, the MCU is kind of falling on its face. The DCEU really was not that great to begin with, and now they're trying to start over. Nobody really wants to give the benefit of the doubt to something like this. They don't want to say, well, there's a good possibility this may be good. The costume looks promising. Everybody wants to just trash everything. And that's the state of the fandom. I mean, it is what it is, I guess, because there's, no matter how many times I try to point this out to people and be like, well, it's it's pretty accurate. I mean, everything that we wanted in a Superman costume is here. People are still finding something to complain about. Oh, the collar is not that good. Well, I hate to say this, but if your opinion, oh, and it's got the sort of rubberized Nike texture and his cuffs and there's lines on his arms and I'm like, if your standard of how a good Superman costume is supposed to look is Christopher Reeve's Superman costume, you're going to be sorely disappointed because they are never going back to a spandex right off the page, Bronze Age version of Superman's costume. It's never going to happen. This to me looks like a 21st century version of Superman's costume, and I'm okay with that. I mean, I'm a purist. I would love to get a Kurt Swan looking Superman costume straight off the page. We're lucky to get this as accurately as we've gotten it. And I think people don't really realize that. Now, if you want to be a purist and you want to be a stickler and say it's got to look just like the Chris Reeve Superman costume, feel my pain as I wait for a accurate Batman costume because we haven't gotten it yet. I think Adam West is still the closest to the actual Batman costume. It's spandex. It's the blue and gray. He's got the utility belt looking exactly like the utility belt. Adam West is the closest we've had to an accurate Batman costume. And so I understand that, but people will be okay with, oh, well, Michael Keaton's costume looked great. Well, yeah, but it's still solid black. It looks very boring to me. I like the two-tone look. They finally made a two-tone look with the Ben Affleck Batman, but they based it on the Dark Knight Returns, which I don't like that big, bulky Batman. He's supposed to be a ninja. You can do that in the Dark Knight Returns because he's supposed to be old and he's slowed down. He's sort of made up for his agility with muscle. But that's not really the standard Batman. Standard Batman is, stealthy, ninja, swings through the sky, and it's, he's not weighing like 500 pounds of muscle. So again, I'm telling you, you gotta be satisfied with getting as close as we got with this one. Now, I think the one concern I have, let's put it that way, is that they're going to try to go for a human story again for Clark Kent. What this picture kind of tells me is that we're still going to Superman's a hard job, and he's as human as the rest of us. He's just a kid from Kansas that has powers, and it's a drag because he's got like the weight of the world on his shoulders, that everybody's looking to him to do the right thing. We got this in Superman Returns. We got this in Man of Steel. We got this in Batman v Superman. I'm concerned that they're going to give us a sad sack Kal-El again. And I've always said the main thing you want to do with Superman is it's wish fulfillment. When you watch Superman, the movie with Christopher Reeve, everybody loves it because it's wish fulfillment. You see Superman's first night, he's flying around, he's having the time of his life. He's saving cats from trees, he's saving an airplane, he's stopping a mugger and this and that. And it's just so wonderful to be Superman. He's got these powers and he can do anything and he's helping people. And, then you get to the other Superman films and it's like, oh, gee, why is it got to be so tough for me? Why am I having... And again, I'm not trying to belittle the point that you want there to be challenges for Superman. You don't want him to just sort of have an easy time of it, especially with the main villain and the dilemma that he's going to go through. But you can't lose that wish fulfillment. You can't lose that romance. I can't see any other superhero film dedicating whatever it was 5 minutes to Superman flying with Lois. Again, that's wish fulfillment. That's what all the girls in the audience want to be. They want to be Lois Lane. That's what all the guys in the audience want to be. They want to be Superman. They want to be able to take their girlfriend and fly up in the sky. That's the kind of stuff that we need, and I feel like we kind of lost that. I don't understand why, because everybody, even if they're not making a Superman picture, they always look to the original Superman for inspiration, but they never really try for that wish fulfillment aspect, at least enough. And I think with Superman, that's very important. And that's my only real concern from this image, is that we're kind of also setting the stage for, gee, this is going to be tough. I don't know if I can do it. A lot of people are depending on me. It's like, we kind of seen that already. Not once or twice. We've seen it like 1,000 times at this point. Superman and Lois, that's another show that puts Superman through the emotional ringer. And it's not a bad show, but it's again, it's not really that wish fulfillment. You don't really want to see, I forget if it was Grant Morrison that said this, but it's like, you don't really want to see Superman having like dad problems and the wife is complaining and that, you know what I mean? You kind of want to see him just being out there doing his thing, and that's kind of missing from most Superman projects, at least in the recent years. So again, I like it. I think it looks like a modern update of the Superman costume while being respectful. Now, I hope we get another image that'll actually show him, in the daylight. Maybe we could really see the trunks. We can see what they've done. The cape looks great. The collar, I think, is fine. I'd like to see if there was the gold S in the back of the cape. That would be nice. But it looks fine to me. And I think, once again, the Snyder fans are always going to lead the charge against these films. And honestly, I that's the greatest disservice that we've had in the fandoms, is the Snyderverse, because that's all they ever do is heckle and Hector and everything else. They're never going to be satisfied unless Snyder does 50,000 films about the DC universe. And quite honestly, he is not qualified to do that. I probably should have looked up whatever nonsense he was saying recently, because you see it online all the time. He's always constantly running his mouth about, letting Batman kill is a good thing. Why are you protecting your gods? And shut up. You know what I mean? This is a guy that wanted to have Batman assaulted in jail, if you know what I mean. The guy doesn't deserve to be anywhere near a superhero film. It's just not for him. And there's no crime in saying that, but for some reason he's amassed enough followers to make enough noise. I don't really think there's enough that care about it, because they always make that joke. They're DC fans. The movie fans are all online and none are in the theater, because nobody really likes what they did when he was spearheading the DCU. So let me know what you think in the comments below. I, for one, like the Superman costume. I have some enthusiasm for this film. I mean, I could still be wrong, but from what I've seen coming out of it, the cast looks mostly good. I think our last video, we talked about how the cast looked. It's mostly good. It's 90% there. I don't like race changes. So Perry White was kind of disappointing. Otis being race changed was kind of disappointing. But apart from that, everybody looks like they're supposed to. The costume looks very accurate to what I imagine a 21st century Superman costume would look like. So, we'll just take it from there and see what happens next. Is there anything else to talk about here before we wrap up for today? What else has been in the news? Star Wars The Acolyte is going to be coming out, and I'm probably going to watch it. I haven't watched Tales of the Empire, I think it is. I might try to get to that. I don't really know. I think it's just about Barra Sophie, something like that. Maybe if I can get through that fast enough, I'll watch that. I got through watching X-Men 97, and I was quite pleased with it. I don't think I'm going to do a review video. I honestly don't know if there's enough to say about it. I know there was some controversy, so maybe I'll do a video to sort of talk about that. I don't know for sure, but I just to give a brief review here, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a lot. I don't think it was overly woke. There's a lot of people that kind of was, Morph is bi and this and that, but they gave plausible deniability when it came to Morph. They kind of had to have their little moment or two during the series, and then they kind of backed off on it. So it is what it is. We're probably still a good 10 years away from having completely wokeless content, but I think it's getting better. I think we're getting there gradually. And the story was pretty good for the most part. I thought the villain was okay. It was mostly about Magneto, like it usually is. But again, maybe I'll talk about this some other time. Check out our links in the description below. You can follow me on Twitter. You can follow my website for more information about the adventures of Bullets Bourbon Private Eye. And you can check out our other videos. I also am thinking about watching The Batman, Robert Pattinson's film with him as Batman. Didn't want to do it, but again, I've kind of got that in the back of my mind for doing, and maybe I might do a video to talk about that in the near future. Of course, if any more Superman movie news drops, I'll probably talk about that. And so there we are. And yeah, next week is Memorial Day weekend. So maybe we'll try to do another video next week. I'm going to try to get back on a weekly schedule of doing something, usually Saturday, maybe Sunday. But our big 250th broadcast comes to an end. And as always, God love you for listening. We got 321 subs now. That's pretty good. I want to see more subs. When we were trying to reach 300, I was so impressed that we got enough viewers to sub and build that up. Well, we're trying for 400 now. And by the end of the year, I'd like to see 400 subs. If you could possibly do it, please like, share, and subscribe if you haven't already. Share this to anyone you think might be interested, and maybe they'll subscribe as well. All right, so until next we meet, this is Johnny Torch reminding you once again, keep the flame burning brightly, and I'll be with you again real soon.